I've made some really dumb decisions in my life. Many of them have cost me a lot of money, but more importantly, they've cost me even more in time. And in today's video, I'm gonna go over some of the dumbest decisions I've made and how you can avoid them and learn from my mistakes. If you're new to my channel, my name's Ryan Pineda. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur here in Las Vegas. I flipped hundreds of homes, I own hundreds of rentals, and I have multiple businesses doing millions a year in profit. And if you haven't heard, I just launched The Wealthy Way, which is a new project where I've created an online course, a Discord community, and a planner for 2022 that's all completely free. All you gotta do is go to wealthyway.com to download it. Now, I've made plenty of mistakes. In fact, if I was to do this video the right way, I'd probably have to make one every single day for my channel to go over all the dumb things I've done. But here's the thing, mistakes are what you make of them. For some people, they're always bad. They live with regret, those mistakes eat them up, and they think that there's no way they can ever recover from them. And then on the other side, there are those who think mistakes are good. If you're not making mistakes, you aren't trying enough new things. Every single mistake you make is just an opportunity to learn a lesson and to make a different decision going forward that's gonna advance you to the next level. And I'm sure you can guess which side I fall under. I'm more than happy to make mistakes because I know that they're just part of the process of reaching new levels. So I wanna share with you some of the biggest blunders I've made so that you can learn from them and not have to actually go through the mistake yourself. One of the biggest mistakes I made was back in 2018. That was the first time in my life that I had net over $1 million in a year. And you would think when you're making the most amount of money in your life that you should have the most amount of cash in the bank. And that's what I thought was happening until it wasn't. That year, I was buying more houses than I ever had bought in my career, and I thought things were going really good. I was raising money, I was buying houses, we were getting a lot of great deals, things were selling for more than we thought. Things couldn't be better. But what I didn't realize was that I had a cash flow problem I wasn't aware of. I had all this money in the bank that I thought was my money, when in reality, that money was meant for renovations on homes. And because I had so much money in the bank, I thought I had more money than I did, and so I started using it to buy more properties. And then it comes time to go do the renovations on those homes, you quickly realize you don't have the money anymore. This is what they call commingling, and I did not know I was doing this because I'd never had this amount of money in my life. And I like telling this story to my students because it can happen so fast even when you're making a lot of money on paper. Essentially, I realized it was happening once I started having some really big renovation checks. At the time, it started out with me having about $600,000 in the bank account. I thought everything was good, we had a lot of money in reserves. Well, that week we had about $200,000 worth of renovation expenses that we had to pay to contractors. And that was the biggest check I had ever had to write for a week. So I was like, man, hope we don't have anything else like that again. That was huge. Well, the next week, it happened again. We had to pay $200,000 to contractors for all these projects we had. And I went from thinking, oh man, I've got a good amount of money saved to, man, if we have another week where I have to pay out $200,000 again, I'm screwed. I'm about to go insolvent. And it was during this 2-week period that I had to learn the concept of cash flow. I got all of my team together and we figured out how much we owed to all of our contractors for the remaining renovation cost. We then had to figure out what properties we're about to sell and how much cash we could expect to come in. And then we needed to figure out how much cash was gonna be needed to pay employees and all the other normal expenses of business. Well, as it turned out, we did not have enough cash for everything that was needed. And it wasn't because we weren't profitable or anything like that. We were netting over 7 figures. The problem was I took all of the profits and put them into the next deals. And so in order to get through that rough patch, I had to take out loans, I had to max out credit cards, just to keep everything afloat until a lot of these flips closed. Thankfully, we got through it, but I'll tell you, that was the scariest situation I've ever encountered in business. So the moral of the story is, it doesn't matter how much profit you make if you run out of cash. So guard your cash in order to preserve your business. Let's go into story number 2, which has to do with crypto. So, earlier in 2021, I started buying Bitcoin when it was $30,000. I also was buying a lot of Ethereum when it was around $1,000. Looking at it now, you'd think, Ryan, you are so smart. Well, yes and no. I did believe in them for the long term, and I thought that they were gonna go up quite a bit. And sure enough, I was right. I was up almost $1 million on my crypto portfolio in the span of just a few months. Well, throughout 2021, as we all know, the market just kept going like this, and like this, and like this, and like this. And sure enough, I decided I'm just tired of crypto. I believe in it long term, but I don't want to deal with this. And so I sold at the bottom. And I went from having over $1 million in gain to taking a small loss. And to make matters even worse, I then watched it proceed to go back up. If I would have just held, I would have had over the $1 million in gain again. Well, so what's the moral of that story? Well, there are two things. For one, if you're gonna invest in crypto, look to do it in the long haul. If you look at any of the big cryptos like Bitcoin or Ethereum, you'll see that in the long haul, they always go up. In the short term, they're always doing this, but in the long haul, you will make money if you can be disciplined enough to ride through the volatility. I was not disciplined enough to stay with it, and in turn, it cost me over $1 million. But the second thing I'll say is, if you know you're not that disciplined, start taking money off the table and take profits. For me, what I should have did when I was up $1 million was take my initial investment out of it. I think I was into it around $700,000 or $800,000 of my own money. If I would have just taken that out and let the rest of the profit ride, I would have been way more than willing to just let it sit there and accumulate and see what happens. But because I let it just go down and then I was losing on my initial investment, it made me think, oh man, I need to just get out of this now. So my advice now is to go into it knowing you're gonna hold for the long term. But if you're up a lot, take some chips off the table, because now you're gonna be much more free with that investment and you're gonna ride through the volatility so much easier. And also, just so you know, I'm back into the crypto game, but I'm heavily investing in NFTs now. Got over $1 million worth of NFTs, and I do not plan to make the same mistakes. I've got some that I'm up a bit on, probably gonna sell some and take some profits, and I'm gonna hold others for the long haul. And that way I could essentially have an NFT for free if I do the right things, taking profits on the other ones. So that's a lesson you can learn from my crypto journey in 2021. The next story I think you can learn from is when I believe that KPIs didn't matter. If you didn't know, KPIs stand for Key Performance Indicators, and it's things that you use to track your company to make sure they're doing what they should. And I was so dumb years ago that I read a book called Measure What Matters, and it was about how Google essentially used KPIs to become where they are today. Because they were measuring the right things and they were constantly being held accountable to those things, they were able to develop into the powerhouse they are today. And for whatever reason, I was just really stupid. I said, we don't need to do that. We're not as big as Google. Sure, it makes sense when you're a huge company, but when you're a small business, that stuff doesn't matter. You can get by with just your gut. And I'll tell you, I am a gut decision maker and it has served me well, but your gut is not a good indicator when it comes to running business daily. It wasn't until I had that cash flow issue and seeing that my team wasn't performing as well as I thought they were that I realized, man, I need to track people, I need to track numbers, and we need to track performance. And I'll tell you, the moment we started doing it, it brought clarity to everyone in my business. The thing was, we had employees who thought they were doing really good because that is what their gut told them. And we had no way to tell them they weren't because we didn't have numbers to show them. Well, once we started getting those numbers, it became clear to see to everyone involved that, hey, we are not doing nearly what we think we're doing. And by having the KPIs and having the data, we're able to now say yes or no whether or not we're doing what we should. So tracking your data and tracking your results is a huge thing. It's actually part of the reason why I created the Wealthy Way Planner. It's there to track your progress on your goals and on your habits and to make sure that you're doing the things you need to do. And you'll be able to tell whether or not you're on track with your goals because it is right there, transparent in front of you. So if you want that planner, you can get it completely for free at wealthyway.com. I would highly suggest using that to track the results in your life, but make sure you're doing KPIs in your business as well. But anyways, don't do the dumb things I did, just learn from my mistakes. If you've got any dumb lessons that you think people can benefit from, definitely comment below, let us know what you learned from them. And if you want me to do a follow-up video to this of some other lessons I've learned from dumb things I did, let me know in those comments as well. So anyways, thanks for watching, I'll catch you on the next one, peace.